All right, hey everybody, welcome. Finally doing it tonight. Me and Rob, art to art. We're gonna do it. So, hey Rob, it's good to see you. Rob
What's
Willis,
up, Bruce? How you doing?
artist. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I wasn't quite done with your intro. I was going to tell them how great of an artist you were and how popular you are. So, um, but yeah, I'm glad to finally get you on here. I know we've been trying for what 3, 4 weeks now. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's
yeah,
been crazy.
been one thing or another, either me or you. So it's good to finally get going on here. So,
1 second, 1 sec. Sorry, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's no problem. No problem.
I left something. All right.
See, totally unpredictable.
Okay. Unprepared.
So I know how it is. I have grandkids running around sometimes, so I know how it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So how have you been? It's been a while since we chatted on here. I think it's been at least 2, 3 years. It was before
You,
Shinobi. So yeah.
yeah, you're one of the. I think you might be the first time I did any YouTube stream or anything. I think it was with you, the online stream. I think it was your show, and then I think we did John Malin after that, and then
Mm-hmm.
a few more. There were some in there, but I think yours was the first. That was the first pop my cherry, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, I mean, you've been doing them ever since. I think I caught you.
I try to avoid them as much as possible.
Oh, do you? Well, I think I caught you on. I think it was an auction. You were doing some auctioning of some of the covers you did for. What was that for? I don't remember now.
Heavy metal, heavy metal magazine is putting out a story called Ram God,
Right, right.
and it's like a seven book series. Right now, it's got 7 books, almost completely drawn up. It's it's a little uh, iffy about where that's going right now, though, because I've seen in the catalogs heavy metal is still looks like they're still printing it. It's going to start in July, but I talked to one of the co-writers who doesn't work at heavy metal anymore, and he's saying he's trying to buy the rights to everything and publish it on his own because they let him go mid-project, and I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I don't know, but he reached out to me, and I think he's got 6 of the books drawn, and then the seventh one all laid out. Kane and White did the interiors for all the books, and
Oh, really?
Kanan's not doing the seventh one for some reason. So he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you want to draw this?" And I was like, "No, I can't. Unless you want to wait to if you plan on waiting 2.5, 3 years, because after Shinobi's done, I've got another book I want to do, and maybe another one after that that I'm writing myself. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, I'm just not gonna have time for it. But I do covers. I was supposed to do 7 covers for that book,
Oh,
and
yeah.
because of the problems at heavy metal, new management, a lot of downsizing. Uh, from what I understand, I don't know too much. I was just like hired to do a couple covers, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But through emails that I've gotten from their um, management and stuff, it seems like they're going through some big changes and trying to recover from some bad business for a while.
Oh,
So
gotcha, gotcha.
I was supposed to do 7 covers, and that turned into only 3 covers. I guess they stopped paying people. So I don't know.
Well, that seems to be the trend now in mainstream publishing like that. So, hey, I want to give a quick shout out to my good buddy John LaChase. He's in the chat watching. Hey, John, good to see you, man. Let's get that go to hell done. I know you're waiting on me. I get it. I know you're waiting on me. I get it. We'll get it done. We're gonna get it done. But John's a really good writer, and he normally does screenplays, but he opted to do a graphic novel with me. We've been planning this for a couple of years. I just haven't had a lot of time to work on it, but we're gonna get it done. Hey, Mangy Movies. Hey, guy. Hey, how's it going, man? Glad you're here. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat. This is just a two artists talking about either art things or anything else that floats our boat, I guess, for about an hour. So, yeah, that comic books right now, especially the mainstream, are having a lot of trouble. And I don't know. Well, I do know, but trying to be diplomatic here. Most of the time, the writing, in my opinion, is not very good, and the art. I mean, quite frankly, the indie market has been displaying a lot better art. Now, there still are some really good artists in the mainstream. David Finch
There
and
are
Jason Fabuk and stuff, people like that.
Capullo, Jimenez,
Capullo,
but
yep,
what's weird is it's really easy to keep track of who's good now, and to
exactly,
where
yep,
like that you can count on one hand who is really good, and then the rest are kind of forgettable. It, and back in the day, you couldn't do that. They were pretty
no,
much
they're all over the
90% of
place.
the
Yep,
artists.
yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I can remember growing up. There were so many artists that I admired and I thought were really, really good. Not only in the mainstream, but in independent work as well. Um,
Yeah.
but but nowadays, yeah, you're right. You can name them off. Probably count them on two hands of the ones that I think are really good. Now, I'm sure art is subjective, right? So
Yeah,
some
it's
people
a,
could
it's a
say this is
matter of
good.
preference.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
maybe people's preferences are changing. Maybe this is what the younger generation likes. What's coming out now, it's a little more uh, simple art style, I
yeah,
guess, more
yeah.
cartoony. Um, and
Well,
animation's going that way too, not just comics. You see a lot of remakes of cartoons that are going really just goofy cartoony. Like what was it? The Thundercats remake they
oh
did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
I know. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I've noticed it. Probably for a few years, and it's because I have, like I mentioned, I have grandkids and they're younger, and I see the stuff they watch, and I'm like, wow, really? Like this appeals to you, right? So maybe you're right. Maybe it's just stuff like what you do, really, detailed rendering, black and white stuff, stuff that I strive to do. Um, Stuff like David Finch or Bernie Wrightson or uh, those things. Maybe they're just not in the norm. I can't believe that people don't like those anymore. But I mean, it could be.
I
It
think
could be.
some people do, but I think the younger generation's wired a little differently due to the impact of the programming that they've been uh, been able to access at all
Hmm.
times of the day. Like it used to be, what we got our little cartoons on Saturday afternoon cartoons,
Hmm.
and then it was the rest. You had to use your imagination. It was all imagination. Or go outside or something like that. Now you got YouTube and all these other things where kids are on their tablets all day watching. I mean, I watch my kids watch other people play video games and stuff all day. Like,
Hmm.
what is that? Like, I don't get it. And
No, you're right. And those people are making a ton of money. I mean, a ton of money. People who play on Twitch or YouTube and they stream playing games. And you're right. Um, Matter of fact, I catch myself doing it sometimes, just depending on because I don't know how you are. I know that you draw traditionally, right? So you're probably on a drawing table or something. I'm at a computer because I do my stuff digitally and I have stuff on in the background, right? I have a YouTube, I'm either listening to or watching to YouTube while I'm drawing. Some people have like Spotify on, listen to music and stuff, and I I don't know. I like to listen to weird conspiracy theories on YouTube, like and while I'm drawing. Speaking of which, I don't
yeah,
know. There's a there's a really great channel on YouTube called the Y Files, and I love that channel. Like every Thursday they do a new one. Like last Thursday was about the Ark of the Covenant, and
Oh, I just watched something about the Ark of the Covenant.
really,
It was who was the guy, man? I think he's dead now. He was the one that claimed to have discovered it, right?
oh
Or
really,
he also did the Sodom and Gomorrah one.
mm.
He's an architect who went out there and claims to have found where Sodom and Gomorrah was,
Oh
and
really? I think I might have heard that. Yeah.
he went digging through there, and there's just balls of sulfur in
Hmm.
everything. It was crazy, but he also claimed to have found the chamber. Man, he found the chamber with Christ's burial chamber.
Oh
Said
right. Yeah.
there was an angel in there when he went in there and everything. And but what's weird is you almost don't want to believe the guy. You hear him talking, you're like,
Hmm.
this is too crazy because he claims to have found where Jesus was crucified and the blood in the covenant and everything.
Hmm.
That I don't know. Underneath of the ground is like a chamber under there
Hmm.
where there's this something golden. I don't know. It was a long program, so I don't remember all the details. But when you hear the guy talk about it, like really talk about it, like his body language, everything about it, has been analyzed, and like, yo, this guy believes everything he's saying.
Right. Right.
Like he's not telling a story. He's not lying. He's not making this stuff up. At least in his mind, this stuff happened. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
because he's going into details. His story never changed, no matter how many times he told it. His body language. He's doing hand movements, describing what he did and what he saw. And they're like, yo, this guy's telling the truth.
Hmm.
And it's pretty cool, man. I gotta find what's his name. Uh,
I could probably look at. Let's
just
see.
watch it. What's funny is Jesse, who's not very religious, is the one. I want to say his name's something Williams or William something. Let's see, what are my recent YouTube
I mean,
videos?
the story rings a
I
bell.
like
I
the
just don't know who it was.
conspiratorial stuff.
Right. Right.
I like the conspiratorial stuff, but some of it's a little too crazy for me. Um, well, I like watching it, and then I'll just pick it apart. If I think it's too, I'll find reasons why I can't believe it, because I'm critical of everything I hear, whether it seems believable or not. I try and find holes in everything, and if I find enough of them, I just call bullshit on it, basically.
Right. Right. I hear you. What I like about this particular channel though is he presents the he presents the quote conspiracy of the story, all the angles. They do some research and they find it all, and then they present at towards the end of the video. They present the counterpoint to it, like to try to explain away. Okay, this is why this might not be true or whatever, and they kind of leaves it up to the audience to decide, type of thing, which I think is interesting. Plus, he has a
Yeah.
really good presentation. He has like a little sidekick, which is a CG goldfish named Hecklefish, and they have the what is it? He's like Hecklefish is like from the Bronx, and he has that accent, and he believes in lizard people, and the CIA's out to get you, and he's always doing
Okay.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So um,
Yeah.
it's really good. Like
Yeah, I don't buy into the lizard people stuff and the
right,
people claiming there's different breeds of aliens on Earth. I don't. I just think people are fucked up, and you might want to believe certain people are aliens or certain agendas that are going on right now are the result of some kind of alien force. But it's all people. It's just human beings, in my opinion.
right, right,
The
right, right.
guy's name is Ron Wyatt,
Ron White.
and Wyatt, W
Oh, White.
Y A T T. And he's got a huge documentary, and he talks about where what is the Ark of the Covenant is. That's where the blood um, where the blood sealed, like there was a deal, right? It was kind of like, okay, Jesus's blood basically sealed the deal, and the prophet, like his prophecy was fulfilled, kind of. Is that what is the Ark of the Covenant?
The Ark of the Covenant is where supposedly that Moses he had it built, and that's where they put the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are supposed to be sealed up in
Oh,
the Ark.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's yeah. He claims that to have seen the tablets, but they were in like the Ark of the Covenant. He claimed was underneath where Jesus was crucified or something like. I don't know. I have to go back and watch it. But
right.
like there was this chamber underneath, and then I guess the blood from Jesus went down into the ground and fell onto this thing, this golden something. I don't know. It sounds crazy, but if you let this guy tell it,
Yeah,
it's
I'll go
it's
look at
pretty
that.
cool.
Is
And it
Rob
kind of
Wyatt?
like was like a signature.
Uh-huh. You said it's
Ron,
Ron
Ron, Ron Wyatt,
Wyatt. Yeah,
Ron Wyatt,
I'll check it out.
and yeah, and he claims to have gotten some blood samples and took
Uh-huh.
them to somebody to look at, just to take a look at, and he left them there. And I guess when he came back, they were like freaking out. They were like, "Whose blood is this?" Like, apparently,
Mm.
it only had like half of the chromosomes in it, like the from like the mother's side, and the blood was still alive. And they were like, I don't know, the dude just starts like crying when he's telling the story. It was crazy. I don't know.
Wow, wow,
It's worth
wow.
watching. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll make sure to check it out. And I want to give a shout out to in the chat, Big Red 40 Tech. I have to remember to change your name, Red. Uh, he runs a YouTube channel, and it focuses on BattleTech. I don't know if you're familiar with BattleTech, Rob, but it's a tabletop game where you fight with big stompy
No,
robots. You probably
okay,
seen
I've
some.
joined some of those.
Yeah, you've probably seen some of my art lately where I've been doing BattleTech
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm doing some art for Red and for his channel. He's working on a pretty extensive video about the Waco Rangers, which is a mercenary unit inside the game lore.
Oh, cool.
So I'm doing some art for him for that. So
Are
I
you
appreciate you
designing?
coming by.
Or are you doing?
No, I'm
You
just
doing like book art?
yeah, kind of. There, there's scenes like he has specific scenes that he wants done that's within the lore and based on a story that's already in BattleTech, and so I'm just
Okay. So
drawing
you
like
use the already existing figures and
yeah,
draw them into action.
exactly. So yeah, so it's going to be fun. I'm already deep into that. I've got quite a bit I've got to get done for him, but we'll get it done, and he'll get it on his video, so it should be good. But what about you, man? What have you been doing lately? Just other than the heavy metal covers that you had going on. Um, I know you probably. I know everybody wants to hear this, so I'm just going to get it out of the way. I know you're probably working on Shinobi. So, what else you got going on?
Well, Shinobi is getting done slowly, man.
Mm-hmm,
Unfortunately, I dropped the ball on production with Shinobi to the point where it's just embarrassing.
mm-hmm,
Uh, I'm trying to get to a point where I can just dig in and get it done.
mm-hmm.
And every time I start, it's like, man, I got to get some other work done because I got all these bills piling up. You know, I
Yeah.
got all this stuff. I get to a point where my bills are kind of caught up for a little bit. I pay them, some of them ahead of time, and I go, okay, this is going to give me a window of time to sit down and do some work. And then something will happen. Man, I swear to God, every time it's like a medical bill or something crazy, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need money. What do I do? You know, like
Right.
so.
Right.
I gotta jump back over to do some commissions. Um, but I've turned down. I mean, I'm not like I said. Anybody who's worried that I'm gonna move on and not finish Shinobi, that's not what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. I have
Right.
turned down any. any ongoing projects. I've had a lot of offers to do really cool books,
Right.
and I've got which which I would maybe have turned down anyway, but really good paying jobs, really cool projects that I've had to say I said no, I can't do anything until I finish Shinobi. And I've also got two of my own projects that I'm dying to get to that I can't do, that I refuse to even really get into even doing character art or anything for until I finish Shinobi. So Shinobi will get done before I move on to do any other projects. But in the meantime, I do take on covers, character designs, and things like that to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much all what I've been doing. I got a bunch of character designs for indie projects that I have enough to keep me busy for a while.
Right.
Um, and I got a few just commissions lined up for you guys. One guy wants me to draw Batman. One guy wants me to draw another character. He's slipping my mind right now. And then a
Mm-hmm.
Deathstroke commission, things like that. Every now and then somebody will hit me up and be like, "Can you draw this character?" And then I've got two or three covers
Right.
that I have lined up for the next month or something like that. Once that's done, I think I'll be in a position financially to actually sit down and knock out a good few pages for Shinobi before I have to
Mm-hmm.
go back and do another cover or anything like
Right.
that.
Right.
So
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good to hear. Maybe some of the people that watch the video later, or maybe that are in the stream, will see that, because I know that people are just chomping at the bit to get their hands on Shinobi. It looks so good. So
yeah,
it's good to know that yeah, you're still
it's
committed
slow.
to it. Like
It's taking me.
everything, it's
Like I
just
say,
slow. Right.
I, I'm as upset as everybody else because, like I said, not finishing that book is also preventing me from moving forward and doing other things.
Right.
So
Right.
because, like I said, I can't go on to anything else until I finish it. I just wish I had a nice chunk of money. I might start playing the lottery because if I had a nice little chunk of money set aside, uh, if I won the lottery, that's what I do. I would sit it in the bank and I would just pay off my bills for the next 6, 7 months while I
Right.
finished off the book. That's what I do with it. And
Right. Right.
but
Right.
man, my kids, the kids eat a lot.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
of course they
uh,
do. Of course they do.
and they
Well,
always
look.
need something.
Well, look. Trevin Devin McKevin the seventh. He says he really likes your beard. You got a nice beard. So,
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah,
I actually shaved it recently. It was a little longer,
yeah.
and I cut it. Yeah, I
Well,
had
as I get older, it turns grayer. I don't know if you can see. Like, I have red hair, but my beard's gray. So,
I got
I
some gray.
envy
I got
that.
some gray coming in. I got some grays coming in back here, a few, and I got a few hiding in here too. Like they're
One or
coming
two.
in, but
Yeah,
they're, they're,
one or two.
they're still hiding. Well, I got maybe like 10, 10, 10, but you can't really see them with it when it's grown out. When I cut it shorter, you can see them a little better.
Right. Right. Well, the more you cut it too, the more gray will come in. So don't cut it for a while unless you want more
You can
gray.
I just trim it. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like shave it off.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Don't shave it, because the next time it comes in, it'll be grayer. Oh, that's been my
Yeah.
experience. But and I don't know if you know, but redheads don't normally gray very fast, except for the beard. The very few hairs that I have on top of my head, they're not gray. They're still red. So, but
Oh, that's good.
but
Uh,
yeah,
like Sean Connery. He
yeah,
had like the gray beard, but his hair was still dark. He wasn't a redhead, but
right, right.
he's he's Scottish.
Well, yeah,
Might as well.
yeah, he probably had some red in there somewhere if he's Scottish. I don't know. That's what I've heard. I'm not Scottish, but Anyways, but glad to hear that about Shinobi, and but the covers were really
Yeah,
cool.
to be honest with you, I thought I was like, man, my first interview with Bruce was about Shinobi. I said
Hmm.
he's inviting me back on to roast me. I know it.
No, I
And
would never do that.
I thought I was walking into it, man. But I said, you know what, I got to do it. So
No, I would never do that. I'm not that kind of person. I know the rigors of doing sequential art, and I have 4 more pages to finish for Corey Lansdale for um, the Oni within his book. It was
yeah,
60 pages, and of course we did it a little differently. Like
is
he
that
was.
is,
Go ahead.
is that the red dude? Is that the red guy with the metal arm and the
Yeah,
horn? Or
the 2 metal arms, the one broken horn. He's red. He's kind of like a
oh,
demon type thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've drawn him twice now.
yeah. You
You
have,
doing the
you do.
interior?
Yeah. Huh?
That's cool. You're doing the interiors for
Yeah,
that.
I did all the interiors. I'm on the last four
Oh,
pages
nice.
of it right now. So, and then I'm doing a traditional cover because we're gonna sell the original art on the campaign. But uh,
That's a good idea.
yeah, and he went a little differently, right? He didn't shoot right for a campaign right off the bat. He wanted to pay for the whole book. Like once this book goes into the campaign, it's completely paid for. He's paid for the coloring, he's paid for the art. And so, I mean, he's been working his tail off at his regular job to make sure he could do it because he said that when he went on to go to the campaign, he just wanted to make sure that okay, the campaign's over. I send it to the printer, and people, then they're going to get their books. But so it's
Pay what
taken
you
a
gotta
couple
pay.
years. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's I wish I would have done it that way with Shinobi. I wish me
Yeah.
and Cal would have done it that way. I was thinking about that the other day. I said, man, it would have been so much easier if we would have just got it done first.
Hmm.
Might not have been easier, but it would have been smarter to get it done first
Well, it would have. It
and then
would.
put it out. So,
Yeah, it would have taken longer, but I think in the long run, it probably would have paid off a little bit. Uh,
yeah, it's. Well, I think that's what I'm going to do with Dredge, which is my next book. I'm going to at least get
yeah, I've seen
the
some art from
majority
it.
of it done.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, a little playing around. I played around with one or two images from it, and I'm not sure. I don't think any of that's going to be final. Those images were just like they. The idea was weighing on my head because I was talking to the writer, Will Perdomo. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's helping me write it. And sitting there talking to him, I just had all this stuff going on in my head. So I said, all right, I got to sit down and draw some of this. What I never did, I haven't drawn the main character yet, though, which is Dredge. So
yeah.
left that till later. So
Well, yeah, I think I've seen. Well, I know you released at least one. I know I've seen at least one pinup of Dredge that you've done, right? And I think you
oh yeah,
posted
but
something.
that's the story changed, the character changed. That was
Oh, okay.
really old. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
okay.
thinking about using that for a cover, and that was like a couple years ago. And he's
Yeah.
the whole story has changed now. Yeah,
Hmm.
the concept has changed a lot too of his character. So it's kind of growing. So the more time, which I think is cool, because I may have jumped into it back then and then halfway through been like, you know what, I should have done this differently and that. So now just while doing Shinobi and then letting that simmer, kind of we
Hmm.
make a little changes here and there with the ideas. And I think by the time we're ready to sit down and start drawing and really writing, we'll have everything figured out.
Right, and it'll be kind of different than what it started off at, and I could feel you on that because here. Well, before I tell you about that, it looks like Maine's Food Reviews, which is an interesting YouTube name. Have you guys heard of the super killer comic from comedian YouTuber Vito Gusaldi? And I have to say, honestly, Maine's Food Reviews. No, I have not. No, I have not.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm gonna have to look it up now, though.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Is he funny? Is the
I
guy
don't
funny?
I don't know. Let's ask him. He says blowing up
Is
on
it?
Indigo. Hopefully going to be okay. The guy's kind of weird though. He jerks cats off with Q-tips.
Oh,
Okay.
that's that
Okay.
might be funny. Okay, I could
Yeah,
see.
maybe.
He's kind of
I
crazy.
I guess it could be funny.
What's it called? What's the name of the comic?
Yeah, Maine. What's the name of the comic? In the meantime,
It
got a
is
question
the
for you,
art
Rob.
really good?
Got a question for you, Rob. In the meantime, while Maine tells us what that is,
Okay.
says, how do you develop your storylines for like Dredge? Well, you said you had a writer working on it, right? So did you just give
He's
him
he's
a basic
it's kind of
plot or
like
something?
yeah, he kind of pieces everything together. I just had a bunch of really weird ideas and concepts and things like that going on in my head. It started
Mm-hmm.
off as uh, something a little different. I wanted to see like basically pushing the idea of like what the human mind is actually capable of if it didn't know any. It basically was kind of separated from the constraints of reality, like what it's taught from the day it comes into the world, and actually was kind of detached from that. What what the mind is capable of. This is kind of was like the premise of the character, like what he becomes was actually some kind of like natural phenomenon uh, that kind of his mind was actually able to transform his physical body
Mm-hmm.
through a series of like really bad like not a series, just mainly one traumatically bad situation that completely like broke him. But it, that's kind of still the concept of this guy, but it's a little different. But there's a bunch of other stuff going on in the story now. So we just kind of sit down. Me and Will kind of sat down and spitballed. He gave me a bunch of other ideas, what he thought might fit in there, and so we kind of back and forth it. And we started laying out the plot and where it would begin and how all these different characters would interact, things like that. But it started off as just a basically me. I was probably laying in bed one night and just couldn't sleep. Was doing a lot of thinking about a bunch of crazy nonsense and came up with an idea.
Right, right. Well, that's yeah. I mean, that's usually the way all good things come about, right? Just thinking in the shower or mowing the lawn or whatever. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't claim to be a writer. I try to, but I'm not very good at it. And so I have people like my buddy John who takes a look at stuff and he gives me feedback on things I probably screwed up on or whatever. And but I love to try to write because I have all these ideas in my head, and I can't get them out sometimes. And I used to be able to do it drawing all the time, which I try to still do. But sometimes I want to tell a little bit more detailed story than what I can get in the drawing. So, try to write it down. But yeah, I'm the same way. I come up with a weird idea and then I'll jot some notes down, then I'll throw it by people and you know, maybe something comes of it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So Maine's food reviews says the name of it is Super Killer. And I guess it's
Oh,
on
that's it.
Indiegogo.
Okay.
So I'll check it out. I'll check it out later, Mains. See what's going on there.
Yeah, if the art's good, I'll probably like it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the first thing that attracts me on books is art. Unless I know who the writer is and I know it's going to be good, then I'll check it out. But it's very hard for me to justify bad art with a good story. Like it's kind of like I don't know if you have this experience with drawing, or with your pinups, or with doing sequential art, but it's kind of like with art, bad inking can destroy good art, or bad coloring can destroy good art, and no amount of good coloring can make bad art good, right? That's what I've found, at least, just working with.
sometimes a powerful colorist can kind of fix good art, but bad inking is terrible. It'll ruin art. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen colors that can really fix up some stuff, but no, I mean it's always there though. The if the art's not that great, you're gonna be like, okay, this is all the colorist, which is a lot of comics now. Is all the colorist. The
Hmm.
art, if you remove the color in a lot of these mainstream comics, the art would be very plain. You wouldn't want to really look
Well,
at it for any amount
it,
of time.
yeah, it honestly reminds me of like some of the art just reminds me of a coloring book, right? It's just
Yeah,
very line oriented. It's just line art. There's
yeah,
not much rendering
yep.
going on. It's not like, and I've told you this before during our first, stream together years ago. But your art, you're heavy into renders, and I don't know if you've ever checked out David Finch, right? Uh, but your
Yeah,
stuff
he's getting
reminds
into
me. Yeah, go ahead.
he's getting into I was gonna say he's getting into a lot of painting now. I've seen and his paintings are really good, man.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Well,
and he
yeah,
doesn't do his streams like he used to do all those draw streams, and now I see he posts a lot of paint streams.
yeah. I think he does them on Sunday. He has this thing like Sunday Night Draw or something like that, and
Hmm.
uh, I watch it every once in a while. Him and his wife do it. I think they live on a farm somewhere, and uh, so Sunday nights they reserve to have a drawing stream where they have guests on and do stuff like that. But yeah, you wouldn't know it, but he's kind of new to painting. Like I've been watching him for a while, and like he usually has a guest on that's used to doing stuff like that, and they'll teach him some tricks or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
really enlightening because I remember when the guy used to work for Image Comics, and I don't know if you know the story of Image, but let's see. First off, Big Red here says, "But what if the art is good, but the story is about just people eating various forms of plain noodles?" Well, believe it or not, Red, that there are comics where they dedicate 4 or 5 pages to two people just eating and having a conversation over food. And yeah, you're right about that. Even good art is not going to fix that. So you okay? That's true. So
You can admire the artwork though. Like you can still
yeah,
give
you
the
can.
artist
Yep,
credit,
yep, yep,
but the writer doesn't get any credit.
yep. No, that's true. That's true. But no, when Image first started out, it was the Renegades who left the mainstream, left Marvel, and started their own company. And I'm sure everybody knows there's a documentary about it or whatever. But when they started publishing their own line of books, they started specifically looking for artists that could emulate the people that were there that were popular. Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, uh, even Rob Liefeld or Leafield, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah,
Whom,
Leffel got upgraded and took on Stephen Platt and some other guys, and
yeah,
uh, McFarlane got Capullo.
yeah,
And I mean, they were all kind of like turned out. And I'm not shitting on McFarlane or Leffel, but those were like the better versions of their work.
mhm, mhm.
I think Platt outdid Leffel. I think Capullo outdid McFarlane.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and I don't know. There's some other guys like Wills and who's working for them. Well, you had Jim Lee and you had Mark Silvestri, uh, Wills Portasio.
Yeah, Wills Portacio. Yeah, who's another. I like his stuff as well. But my point being was that the artists that they sought out at first, they wanted to be cookie cutter type, the same kind of style, right? That's what they wanted
Yeah,
because that's what was selling books. They were selling a million copies of a book, right? Sometimes
yeah,
more than that. And they're the rock stars of the comic industry back then. And that's when comic books were at their heyday in the 90s. And so,
yeah,
um, but David Finch started there as well. But
yeah.
he developed his own style as he broke off, and went to work for DC, worked on Batman and some other things, and uh, uh
Well,
Capullo.
Finch was the next Silvestri.
Yeah, yeah, Yeah.
Nobody really carried on from Keown or Keith or Jake Campbell came in a little later, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And he has definitely his own style, just like Dale Keown has his own style. Really, I mean, Pitt was like one of my favorite books just because of the art,
yeah,
and
me
I
too.
didn't really care about the story. I just admired the art. But
Yeah,
here, Big Red here says, "Good art will get people through the door, of course, but if the writing is terrible, people will roll their eyes." Yes, yeah, that's probably true. Like Rob said, you can always just admire the art. Hey, rendered this well. I just don't care for the story. And then he goes on
I
to
think
say,
I
hmm,
think bad writing isn't isn't as big of a deal to like the teens as much though. Like you could still sell books to teenagers with bad writing. Uh, I think because
well, you could definitely sell them to people who are not into the writing part. And there are people like that. That's why artists sell art books, because like a coffee table book with their art in it, because some people will just buy it for the art. But
yeah,
like Red goes on here to say a good product requires a combination of both, a good story and good art. Without both of these things working together, a comic book will fail to capture the attention of the reader. I agree with you, Red, on that. But like Rob said, there's some people that just won't care. They don't care about the writing. They don't care about the story. They just want to look at pretty pictures, so they'll flip it through. And, oh, this is a really cool. Like in your case, like there's a really cool picture of a battle master. I don't care that they wrote it, where it's
yeah.
horrible, or uh, this is just for you, Red. Just kind of inside baseball here. They didn't care if the story was about Clan Wolf. They just cared that it had a really pretty Clan Mex in there. So I know I failed.
Yeah.
It's fun. But uh, yeah. So the
Well, I mean, when I was 14, I'd go through and I would flip through real quick to see which one I wanted to buy.
right, right.
I didn't really read it. I would flip through, and if the art was good, I'd say, all right, I might pick this one up or whatever.
Well, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, me as an artist, I did the same thing. I would pick up a book if it caught my eye. The cover caught my eye. I'd flip, and they probably still do this too. Um, Comic books back then, they used to get a really awesome artist to do the cover. They'd grab your eye, you buy the book, take it home, flip it on the inside, totally different artist, right? And it's like, I don't like this that's inside the book. I like the cover, but so
yeah. Well, they would get back then it was they would have like these nice painted covers a lot too. Like
hmm
would be really cool. And then the art on the inside would be pretty basic. They do that now a lot. A lot of the indie comics, they get these really nice variant covers by different artists, and you open it up, and it's all right. But you get a few, and the industry too. They're still doing it today. Uh, I don't know, maybe more so now than back then, because what guys like Lee and although all those guys did all their own interiors back in the day. Like now, they're just doing covers. Like Jim Lee's not really drawing any books, but he'll do a cover every now and then. So you might get a Jim Lee cover, and then I don't know who the artist on the inside might be, but
yeah. Well, Jim Lee's pretty important now at DC, so I don't think he has time to do sequentials
yeah.
anymore. So, and
Oh yeah.
I barely think he even care. Well, I don't want to say that because I don't know what is in what's in his mind, but I kind of get the feeling that you know it's just not a big priority for him anymore to do like covers or interiors. I know he likes to go to conventions. He likes his fans, I do know that.
Yeah.
And he likes to interact with his fans and stuff, and he appreciates them. So
he
that's cool.
he used to
But
do those Twitch streams where he'd sit down in like 2 hours and draw like maybe more than 2 hours, maybe a couple hours. He would draw and ink a whole like kind of like cover style
yeah,
piece out.
yeah, no, I
Kind
used
of
to
like
watch.
Kind of like Finch. He would take like requests and things, I think, and he would
Yeah,
sit there and show different inking techniques. And he had a pretty cool. I watched one or two of them. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then he'd usually give them away to the subs on Twitch, right? He'd give away the sketch and
Mhm.
mail it to them or
Yeah.
whatever, which was a good treat for everybody watching. That was cool.
Like
So
when the comic industry was doing real bad during COVID, he did like a whole month, right? Where he did like a drawing a day and then auctioned it off and took that money that I mean his drawings were selling for like, you know, in 15, $20,000 a
yeah,
piece.
yeah,
And like he would take that money and put it back into the, you know, into the work. He wouldn't keep it. He was donating it to some cause that was trying to keep the comic book companies afloat.
right, right.
Maybe the shops that were selling books. I don't know where all the money was going, but yeah. And that was it. After that, I don't know. Maybe he got burned out. I haven't seen too much of his work since then.
No, I mean, and he kind of scaled back the whole Twitch streaming too. I noticed. I don't see him doing that
Mhm.
very much anymore either. But we're all getting a little older. I mean, I know he's my age, so and he has a family, and probably just
Yeah,
busy doing other things. But let's see. Red follows up here was he was big into comics for 15 years, but the comic industry started to implode in the 2000s. Yeah, when the art was still pretty decent, and he'd argue that it started with bad stories. I agree. The art now has started to decline over the last 10 years as budgets have fallen. Well, yes, yes, and no. And this is why I say that. Budgets have fallen because the revenue has fallen, but it's kind of like a catch 22. The revenue's fallen because they don't hire really talented people anymore. I don't like to say that. Not really talented. What I mean is that's not appealing to your regular comic book fan. I know that sometimes the industry likes to shit all over older fans of comic books, but those were the money makers. Those were the people that paid their bills, bought those comics, right? And now they don't they don't they don't shoot for those people anymore. They kind of want to move on, and there's nothing wrong with trying to get new readers, a new generation of people, because you know it's the same reason why CVS and Walgreens became such big industries, is because boomers, right, got older and they had to have drugs, and
yeah.
so they made a lot. And the comic book industry is trying just to revitalize their readership
See,
and get
but
new
the comic
readers,
book
but
industry doesn't really have to. They never really. I don't think they had to cater to this to a new generation. They could have created, or they are creating, or they're helping create their culture. They could influence the world. You know what I mean by creating certain stories and things. But they're choosing to go along with like this, just very shallow uh, type of ideas. They're going on. They very PC type stuff. But the artists don't have the creative freedom they used to have.
no, no.
I understand they're very boxed in on how they have to draw specifically certain characters. They can't be like the women can't be too sexually appealing anymore. Their outfits can't be too revealing. Uh, the characters they're creating, the male characters, are becoming weaker or more
Well, it's
emotional.
wait. There, somebody called him this before, and hey, I want to shout out to Dillard Draws. He's in the
Oh,
chat.
Dillard.
Hey, buddy, what's going on, man? Good to have you in here. Got any questions for Rob? Make sure you post them in there. Just comment on his beard, like other people have done. It's classic beard, so it's awesome. But somebody referred to those things as lifestyle comics, right? Well, we have to make a comic about the everyday people, right? Because nobody can relate to superheroes. And I think people, I don't mean all people, but I mean I think some people don't understand what a superhero is. A superhero is a super
Right.
hero. They're not supposed to be us. They're bigger than life. They're more masculine or more muscular or more feminine. They're heroes and they're super, right? So they're not supposed
They
to
want
have real
everybody to
world
feel
problems.
like they
Go
want
ahead.
everybody to feel like you can be a hero too. This person's just like you, or this person's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you, and
yeah.
you guys have the same problems and all that stuff. Now they kind of did that back in the day. Like what, Spider-Man, he dealt with real world problems. He had family
Yeah,
problems and
he's
things like that.
typical
But
teenager. Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, he was just a badass superhero.
Right, right.
It's, I don't know if Spider-Man's changed that much over the years, but I don't know. It seems like, yeah, they're trying to make the characters more relatable instead of making them something out there that maybe you could strive for. You know what I mean? But it's supposed to be unrealistic, uh, and you're supposed to. It's supposed to inspire the imagination, instead of
Yeah. No,
keeping
I,
you
I
grounded in
no,
what's
I
already going on around you.
no, I totally agree. Those are the kind of comics that got me interested in comic books and drawing and doing comic art where the old Iron Man's, right, when he fought the Blood Brothers, or you know um and then they tried to throw, even back then in the 90s, they had the problem with Tony Stark, and he was an alcoholic, and he had a drinking problem, and they tried to throw some of that stuff in there, but it didn't overpower you, if you know what I mean. It
Yeah,
didn't. It was just in there to try to tell a little bit more interesting story, but it didn't take away from the hero that these people were supposed to be. And now I
like they
think
had.
it's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But they snuck it in there. Like, hey, these guys do got problems too. Like, okay, they're dealing with some stuff, but they're still heroes because they got to have some kind of conflict, something to overcome. But it wasn't like, they weren't riddled with it. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. Well, like Dillard says here, relatable versus aspirational. Yep, yep. I get you. And then, I like this comment. I like this comment by Big Red. He says that he aspires to be as successful as Tony Stark, not in business, but it is in alcoholism. So there you go. I don't think that would be too hard to do, actually. But, but, uh, uh, but yeah. So yeah, I think if they ever got back to that, they probably do a little bit better. You know what I mean? They probably sell a little bit more stories. I mean, people have their real world to worry about already, right? Their real life. They don't want to have to read about it in a comic book either, where
Yeah,
they're the people that they look up to or want to see as a hero do good things or help people
yeah,
out have to, oh, they suffer the same problems I do. I can never get away from it. It's supposed to be escapism, right? It's supposed to be,
yeah,
I have my own problems, I read this comic so I don't have to think about that. But if you sit down and
yeah,
read a comic where the superhero is a manic depressive and on the verge of suicide every day, I mean, come on, nobody wants to at least I don't want to read that. So
yeah. I mean, that's like the villain arc. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly, yeah, yeah,
manic,
yeah.
suicidal manic depressant snaps and just goes, super genius suicidal manic depressant. Like,
Right.
yeah, man, I don't know. I think I'm an optimist, so I think they can get back, but I think they've set themselves up in uh, a position where it's going to be really hard for them to do that, uh, because they've helped foster this this mentality within their readers and just enjoyers of entertainment have to, they find everything that so offensive, you know what I mean, that even if they try to get back to that, their new readers are going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe they're going to try and shut it down, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, oh, look what Marvel's doing, like, call them you know paint them out as like Nazis because like a guy there's like a strong guy and something dominant guy. You know what I mean? Just your
Yeah,
basic
yeah, yeah.
old school superhero.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he punches the wrong guy in the face, and then all of a sudden everybody's like trying to cancel or something. You know what I
I
mean?
know, I know. Everybody's trying to be a little too cautious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think
Well,
the
they're
industry
attack.
suffers because of it.
They got this thing where they attack the hero and sympathize with the villains now too, a little too much.
Yeah,
Well,
I
what?
think that, yeah, I agree. They're going, they're delving too deep into the psyche of a villain to explain why they're a villain. Well, maybe they're just a villain because they're a bad guy or a bad girl or whatever. Maybe they
Yeah.
just like being a villain, and that it used to be that was good enough, right? To tell a decent
Or yeah,
story.
I mean, everybody has problems, and those that allow their problems, whether they're mental or physical surrounding situations, if they allow those, they succumb to those problems and then sacrifice their morals and become something different. Well, then that's your villain. You made the bad choice. They are bad now. That's
Hmm.
and
Right.
then maybe they get carried away and just say screw it and go full psycho. But either way, they're bad. It doesn't matter why they became bad necessarily. They're just a bad person now. You got to be stronger than that to be a
Right.
good human being. You
Right.
know.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And it
So
used to be pretty simple, but now it's like, oh, but he had autism and he was schizophrenic, and so that's an
right.
excuse or
Right.
something. I
Right.
don't know. Crazy.
Well, let's see. Big Red here says rebuilding the industry will take steps. There isn't going to be something instantly successful. It will be a series of good, well drawn, well written series that will rebuild the business. I agree, and I think there's a lot of people doing that now, and it's taking place in the independent market. There's some people that have been throwing around this term called Iron Age. Have you heard about this, Rob? Iron
Yeah, I'm
Age.
actually doing a cover or two for a guy who is in cahoots with some other people that just came out with something called Iron Age Comics, which is like, I think it's like the wizard version of like Iron Age comics, like a catalog kind of,
Mhm.
or I don't know, a book with a bunch of different stories and things like that.
Right,
I
right,
think of,
right. Well, if you are you familiar with a guy? He's a YouTube guy, Razor Fist. He's
I
he's
know
he's a
who he
writer.
is.
Yeah, he's a writer. He's written some books, and then he just came out with a graphic novel. It's a western because he's a big fan of westerns, and he likes the European graphic novels that are westerns, like Blueberry, and which are really good books, by the way. But he's a big fan of those, and him and another guy, I think it goes by Shadiversity. He just recently released graphic novel based on a novel he wrote, a little fantasy novel, and they're going under the well. I don't think it's official. I think they're just calling it like the Iron Age. This is the Iron Age of comics now. Because you had the Golden Age, then you had the Silver Age, and then so they're going Iron Age on this. So it's interesting. But there are some, like I said, I'd much rather pick up independent book these days than a mainstream one. What's his name? Von Monster, the guy who just did Terror.
Yeah, that
Both
looks
of
good. I mean,
yeah, both of his projects have been really good. The first one was what was it? Doctor.
it was
Is it?
um,
It was Doctor to the Monsters. I'm trying to think of what it's called.
I should know this because I did
Yeah,
a
you did.
mashup cover.
Yeah.
It was yeah, it was what was it called? Monster something.
Oh man, that really bugs me. I can't remember that now. I have the book sitting somewhere on my shelf somewhere. Uh,
Now it's Terror in the Trenches. Now that looked
yeah.
good. Terror in the Trenches looked really good. Uh, Monster.
You know that I believe I could be wrong. I might have to ask him sometime. That recent book is based off a public domain character, I believe.
The
Terror.
recent book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Terror. Yeah, I believe so. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Um, Monster MD Dillard right there.
That's an
Dillinger.
MD.
Monster MD. I can't believe.
Yeah.
My excuse, Rob, is I'm 50. I just turned 58 years old, so I'm old
Oh
fart.
shit. You got an excuse.
That's
I'm
right.
just brain dead.
I'm just losing my mind. But
You catch, you catch me around 3 or 4 o'clock. I'm pretty sharp. After 8 o'clock, I'm just like,
right,
coffee.
ready
Coffee
to pack
stops
it,
working.
ready to pack it in. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. So, yeah, Monster MD. So that good stuff there. I know that Doug Garrett just went live today with his what is it? Number two of Lone Wolf, I believe. So yeah, a lot of
There's
independent
so
people are doing stuff.
there's as someone who gets contacted to do a lot of covers, there's
Hmm.
a lot of books coming out, and some of them are really good. The
Hmm.
one, the Iron Age one, is really good. It's about like it's kind of like a Western meets like fantasy, like dragon type
Like a weird
lore.
western. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's like a Western guy gets sucked into this world, this fantasy world, and with like this mission. I don't know the whole story. He's told it to me, but it was so long ago I kind of forgot all of it. But it's gonna be good. I got two covers that I got to do for that are gonna be really cool. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that after I'm going to be doing, like I said, with John that was in here earlier, I'm doing a book called Go to Hell, which is, it's a story about a couple who die, and one goes to heaven and one goes to purgatory, and one has to go try to rescue them from hell and then purgatory, basically. It's a really interesting story. I really enjoyed reading it, and so I think the visuals are going to be really cool.
that
And
is
then
cool.
yeah, and then I'm doing a book with your buddy Cal. We're doing a story called 13 Bones. It's a weird western. It's about
Oh,
a voodoo doctor in the 1800s who hunts supernatural things in the old west,
oh, that's
basically.
cool.
Yeah.
Cal's
So.
a good writer, a good fantasy writer.
Hmm.
Uh, definitely. He's got a good imagination on him. Um, I I like his style. It's actually like his stories are kind of feel good. Me, I'm more dark. There's a
More
lot of
darker.
darkness,
Hmm.
much dark, and then a silver lining at the end. But it's still like a dark silver lining. So like it's a silver lining, but it's like might be a sad silver lining, or could be not as fulfilling as you might think. So I don't
so
know.
so you're
I
saying
like.
it's not sunshines and unicorns at the end, right?
No, if there is any humor, it's probably dark, and you might miss it as being humor in the
Hmm.
writing. Might not come across as humor, but
Right. Right.
yeah, it takes place in Dredge. Dredge takes place in purgatory.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it wasn't originally. It was going to take place in the real world originally, and then it became a story in purgatory, which is really cool because I get to mess around with the world a lot because the world is going to be like ever changing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really cool.
Well, I think you explaining it now, I think your art would lend really well to that kind of environment because you're very detailed oriented. That's something I like about your art. Like I could sit there and look at it for an hour, and like I'm amazed by all the detail you put in there, and the cross hatching you do for the rendering is like, I'm like, seriously, dude, it's really impressive. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
So
I tried to cut back, man, but my brain, I'll see a picture, like I'll be working on it, and I say, you know what, I'm gonna lay off of the rendering some, and I when I do that, I feel like it's just missing a lot, and I just can't do it. I go back into it. I gotta fix this. I gotta blend this a little more. I gotta make I gotta mess with the contrast in this area a bit more, and yeah, and then it just turns out like it does. I can't get
Yeah.
away from it. I want to
Well.
change it up. I want to change it up for Dredge and make it a little more gritty and
Mhm.
maybe a little more, I guess you could say, not cartoony, but exaggerated, kind of animated, kind of playful, but
Little bit more stylized, you mean? Little bit,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because I'm gonna have to for that story. It's gonna have to be really far out, so that'll
Yeah.
be fun. Trying
Well, yeah.
something new there.
Well, I think you can pull it off. Just based on what you've been able to do so far, I think it'll be good. But Dillard's got a question for you here, Rob. He says, "Are you selective on the commissions you take in terms of ideas, potential, popularity?"
Not really. I figure not. Well, maybe. I mean, I could be. I haven't been too selective so far because I haven't heard any like terrible, terrible ideas. So I figured like this is how I say, it. Okay, if I can make this look good, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
if I can, I'm gonna take this and make it look good. Is basically my idea, even if it's not like the best thing to me. If I hear the story, if I see the character designs or something, I'm like, well, I can make it work though, and that's what I
Right.
do. So
Right. So there's never been one like you just said, no, I'm not going to do this. And of course, you would never tell the person that, but to yourself, you're saying, no, I'm not going to do this because I just can't get behind it.
basically, I'll turn down time consuming work right now. Anything that's going to
Right.
take a lot of time, yeah, I can't. I'll turn that down. But things like one shots and things, I don't care. Like most of the stuff's good though. Most of the stuff's at least it's got the potential to be good. And I feel like maybe okay, this has potential. I put my artist touch on it. We can make it into something.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
and
Well,
so that,
I think a lot of artists do that. I think the better artists probably say, yeah, I'm not really into this, but I'm going to try to make it look cool, and I'll do my best. So, and I think that's what separates, average from really good type of thing. So, but you got the kids hanging around, huh?
yeah, they came in. I had one of the reasons I was a little late was because when I was getting ready to set up, they were in here going crazy, and I talked them into leaving. Uh, and now they're back. I guess they're getting restless
Okay.
now.
Well, we've been going for a little over an hour, so we can call it there. I think we had a pretty good discussion, and
Yeah, this was great.
yeah, I love having you on here, man. As a fellow artist, get to you know talk about things that we love doing. Obviously, you love to do art.
Yeah.
I love to do art. You're really good at it. I'm average, so it's good. It's
Yeah,
good
I
stuff.
always I always feel good when I come and do these streams. Like the few I do, it takes a lot of work, like twisting my arm to get me on sometimes because I'm like, man, I just don't have time, or what am I going to talk about? But once I'm in there, I'm like, yeah, this is good. I needed that as a break from the norm.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah.
No, yeah, for a while there, I didn't think we were going to be able to do it because it just kept, there's so I know you broke your toe and then you had
Uh,
complications from that and then
well, the
so,
weather. I think the first one was the weather was
oh,
on the
right. You
day
got,
we set up
right,
and knocked the power out, or well, knocked the
right.
power out and the Wi yeah, well, the Wi-Fi goes with the power. So I couldn't even use my computer or anything. It was 1,000 degrees in the house because the air condition didn't work, and I was just like, okay. And then my toe. Oh my God, I'm so glad that's over. That
Did you
was
actually break it? Did you
no,
actually
it
break
wasn't
it?
broken.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it wasn't broken. It was I tore some like ligaments in it, but then it got really infected. And
Oh, okay.
I thought I was gonna have to go get it like I don't know, cut open and or something. I went in there. I hadn't been able to walk for like quite a few days. Like even something as simple as like getting out of the bed to use the bathroom. Just as soon as my foot went down and the blood pressure went down into it, it was
Hmm.
just like unbearable pain. and finally I went back to the doctor and got put on some different antibiotics and things like that. And then about 2 days after I got put on that, I was starting to feel better.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was out of commission for about a week and a half, maybe almost 2 weeks,
Mm,
where I was just miserable,
yeah.
miserable.
Well, I knew
Yeah.
you had to be, but if you're going to cancel being on video, so I figured, oh man, he must have really tore up his toe. So,
Well, I
but
didn't. I didn't just cancel being on video. I couldn't work either, and it was stressing me out because I tried to work in the bed. It
uh,
wasn't happening. I was just in too much pain. I was in way too much pain to even work. Tylenol stopped working, and yeah, I couldn't even concentrate. I was too miserable to concentrate on work, and that's stressful because when I miss a day or two, that's terrible. When I miss a week, that's like life changing for me. So.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
it was pretty bad. Pretty
Well, at
bad.
least it's getting better though, right? It's
Oh, it's
better
good
now,
now.
right?
Yeah, no, it's back. It's back to normal now.
Back
I'm
to normal.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, it's normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. But anyways, Rob, it was good to have you on here. Good chatting with you
Yeah,
again.
thanks, man.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Welcome back anytime. Whenever you want to talk about something or reveal a new project, or I mean, I know I don't have a big audience like some of those other people, but I try to make videos where people might find interesting, talking to artists and writers. So I know people will
Well,
enjoy watching this. So
well, when Shinobi's finished, well, I'll come back on and do one more, maybe one more push for the book. Or
yeah,
when I start with Dredge, I'll come back on and we can talk about that and whatever you
yeah,
got going
definitely,
on.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it'll
Yeah,
be
I
fun.
appreciate you just not just throwing your hands up and saying screw it too because of the cancellations. I know I was like, man,
No,
who's
no,
just
no,
I'm like gonna cancel
no.
again.
Are you kidding me? Have Rob on my channel? That'd be awesome. I'm not gonna give
He
up on
said,
that, but
"Oh man,
but
getting sick."
but all right. Well, to everybody that joined us today, I appreciate you coming out, asking questions. Check out Rob on Twitter. He's at Willis Who. I've got the little banner going on at the bottom of the screen. You can find him. Any place else that you want to send people, or no?
Instagram
Instagram.
is who is Rob Willis, and that's just artwork. Every now and then I'll post a comment or something on Twitter. You may or may not like what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just want to see my artwork, you can go on Instagram, and that's just artwork. That's all I post on there.
Okay, that's who is Rob Willis on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, and all right, well, great, and again, thanks for coming in, Rob, and thanks for everybody that came in and asked questions. And if you like it, if you like content like this, like the video, please. If you're not subbed, sub to me. And if you watched it and you didn't like it, well, at least I appreciate you coming and checking it out. So.
Yeah.
Rob, if you want to hang out after I close this up, but to everybody else, we'll see you later. All right. Bye.